Hello everyone. Are St. Courts tight for you? Are you wondering if you should roll? Well, allow me to offer you some information to help you make that decision. Welcome once again to the Gacha Guide. This will be some hot gameplay information for you. As always, you should roll with your heart, but no shame in wanting to know if you're rolling for a strong servant or not, right? Right. So, today's topic servant is the Bender of Bridges, Asagami Fujino. We will be covering, as always, her stats, her deck and NP, her passives, her skills, her material costs, her comparison with other servants, and if you wish to roll for her, skill leveling priority, what CEs equipped to her, and what servants should be grouped with her, along with a quick little couple tips on how to use her. So, without any further ado, let's jump into her stats. Fujino is a 4-star, single-target archer class servant, meaning that she is strong against sabers and weak to lancers. She has, as you can see, at level 80, 10,299 attack, and 11,025 HP. This puts her at the highest attack stat of any 4-star archer in the entire game, meaning she has a good base chance to hit like a truck. And her HP's a bit on the low side to offset that. It's actually, I think, like the third lowest, something around there. It's about 600 to 700 below the average, while her attack is about 600 above the average. On to her hidden stats. We have an NP gain of only 0.59%. That's pretty dang low. Her cards all have 3 hits, with the exception of the extra card, moving on to 5 hits. Even her Noble Phantasm is 3 hits. She really likes her 3s. This is pretty average, so it doesn't really help mitigate the fact that her NP gain isn't particularly great on her attacks. But what she does have is she has a decent star weight at 148. This puts her well above average. Most archers have a good star weight, so she's around the average for archers. Her star creation is only at 7.9, which is, it's okay, I guess, at most, but she only has 1 quick card anyway, so you're not going to make a whole lot of use out of her star creation in the first place. Moving on, her deck and her Noble Phantasm. She has what I like to call the standard balanced deck. She has 1 quick, 2 arts, and 2 buster cards. The reason I call this a balanced deck is because it's not really a master of anything. It's a jack of all trades. She can put out decent damage with the busters, she can get a decent NP gain just off of the arts, and she has a quick card that exists. Now, her NP itself is a Buster card, so you can get off a Buster Brave Chain with an NP into her 2 Buster cards by herself, which does allow her to put out some decent damage just through that. As for the NP, it is Yuishiki Waikyoku no Magan, Vajnaptimnaptapa, Mystic Eyes of Distortion. Don't ask me to say that word, I can't. This is a single-target Buster Noble Phantasm with 3 hits. It does between 600 to 1,000% damage based on NP level. And its secondary effect is inflicting buff block status on an enemy for 3 turns, one time, along with reducing their attack for 3 turns. So this is kind of a more defensive Noble Phantasm than what you would expect out of a servant with literally the highest attack rate, or attack stat, for her particular class. And star rating, I should say. The buff blocking can definitely come in handy. It can prevent some of the more dangerous buffs that you can think of, including break bar buffs. It can prevent some of those, which can be actually a heck of a lifesaver, because some break bar buffs are like 5 turns of massive crit up. And being able to stop that is pretty helpful. And of course, reducing attack is helpful for just being tanky. Again, this is a very defensive Noble Phantasm. As for her passives, she sports Magic Resistance D with 12.5% debuff resist up. Independent Action A+ for 11% more critical strength, and Territory Creation B for 8% better card effectiveness. Now, the combination of Independent Action and Territory Creation means that if you are able to get stars locked onto her arts card, she is able to actually gain a pretty respectable amount of Noble Phantasm, especially considering her first skill has an MP gain up on it. So, through that combination of things, you are able to gain NP, but if you're not able to get a crit, or you don't have your first skill buff up, in general, her MP gain is pretty poor. This does help it, though. So, on to her actual skills. First off, we have Mystic Eyes of Distortion EX. This increases her Buster card effectiveness for 3 turns between 20 and 35%, gives her the Ignore Defense buff for 3 turns, and increases her MP gain between 20 and 30% for 3 turns. This is a fantastic 3-turn buff skill. On top of that, at rank 10, the charge time drops from 7 to 5, meaning it's only got an effective 2-turn cooldown. This raises her damage and gives her the niche that she's really good at, which is ignoring enemy defense. This skill makes Fujino fantastic for dealing with enemies that like to spam defense up on themselves. Next up, we have Clairvoyance Darkness. This gives her short hit for 3 turns and gains some critical stars. All of her skills have the same charge time, by the way. 7 turns, 5 at max rank. So, you know, the big thing here is short hit for 3 turns. That's the big thing. This is basically just a glorified instinct skill that also comes with short hit. It's overall crap unless you are against an enemy with an evade. If you're not against an enemy with evade, that's just a garbage little instinct skill. Pretty poor. And finally, her third skill, Remaining Sense of Pain. First off, we've got a demerit on it. Decrease max HP by 2,000. This will reduce your HP if you're at full. And that lasts for 3 turns before it goes away. But the buffs that it gives are pretty good. She gives herself damage cut for 3 turns between 1,000 and 2,000 damage, and gives herself a Guts. That Guts is pretty weak. It revives her with 1 HP, so don't expect to tank much after that. However, the big strength of this is that damage cut. That damage cut is equal to Mash's first skill, but it lasts for a full 3 turns instead of just 1 hit. It is a massive damage reduction. Now, that being said, unless you're guaranteeing she's going to be hit, the fact that you have the 2,000 HP reduction demerit means that you could be damaging yourself more than you were going to take anyway, just by virtue of her not being attacked. She really excels with this skill in a situation where she is soloing content. Now, as for leveling these skills, what materials do we need? Well, I got bad news. I got really, really bad news. Her skills are expensive. Ridiculously expensive. Each skill takes 24 Void Dust for 72 total. 36 bones, 108 total, 60 stakes, 180 total, and 60 spinal fluid, 180 total to 10-10-10 her. That is insane. That's like 3 servants worth of materials just for her. Fujino, what the hell? Why are you so greedy? You're dressed like a nun. You should be pious. So how does Fujino stack up against other servants of her class? Is her hunger for these materials justified at all? Well, she has some rough competition. So, in terms of 4-star archers, pretty much every 4-star archer is good. I have them kind of ranked from best to worst. Honestly, you could kind of interchange him up here. But in general, Fujino will outperform our little wonderful demon here. Whoops, that's the background. Don't touch that. But will underperform the other 4 above. And that's terrible news for her, because 2 of these servants, specifically Kuro and Altera Santa, are both welfare servants. And both, in most cases, will outperform Fujino. The only thing Fujino really has over these others is that she is good at soloing content due to her defense ignoring, her high damage reduction, and her own defense increasing for herself. Or her damage... Blah, blah. Yeah, defense increase. Damage cut. When it comes to raw damage output, she's outpaced by servants like Emiya Alter. When it comes to charging fast and being able to take out one enemy quickly, Kuro beats her. If you want star production, Altera beats her. Hell, Kuro and Altera are likely to output more damage than her, just by virtue of being welfares and being automatic MP5s, and Tristan is a better kind of semi-support, semi-damage dealer than she is. She is, honestly, one of the worst archers out there. Now, does that mean she's bad? Not really. It just means she's about an average servant, because even the worst archer is better than some of the average servants out there. In my personal opinion, she's pretty weak. Straight up. There are welfares already that are better than her. The biggest reason that she's weak is because of those two welfares. Kuro is one of the best 4-star servants in the entire game. So any 4-star archer that comes around has to be compared to her, and very, very few of them actually stack up. She has her niche for soloing content, but generally she's outpaced by other servants in that department as well, like Heracles with his Bond CE. So overall, she's a waifu role. If you waifu Fujino, go for it. If you're rolling for gameplay, you're going to want to skip out on her. So, if you do roll for her, let's move on to skill priority. What skills would you prioritize in leveling? Generally, you want to start with her first skill. That's your all-purpose good for everything. It increases her damage, it increases her NP gain to get to NP, and it applies ignore defense, which is always nice to have. As for her second skill, you can ignore this for as long as you want. All you're leveling up for is to gain 10 more stars. Ooh. So amazing. You're gonna get the 3 turns of sure hit. I guess you're leveling to reduce cooldown as well, but honestly, how often are you gonna need sure hit to be active? For more than 3 turns? Not often. And now, remaining Sense of Pain you can actually argue as the highest priority over Mystic Eyes of Distortion if you plan on soloing content with Fujino. That's the big thing. If you want to solo content with Fujino, this is probably the most important skill just because of the massive damage cut for 3 turns. This can lower damage that you're taking to double digits or even all the way to 0 during the buff. So if you're going to solo, this should be your top priority. If not, and you're just going to use her for general purpose, clearing and whatnot, then Mystic Eyes of Distortion. Now, as for craft essences to equip her with, well, generally you're going to go for damage equips, so anything that's an attack up or a buster up in general is going to work, so things like Golden Sumo Tournament or Aerial Drive are pretty good on her. But specifically, a CE that came out recently for Valentine's Day, Ferro Chocolato, is a fantastic CE for her because it increases buster effectiveness, increases MP strength, and increases MP gain. All 3 things Fujino likes to have. So that can be a choice for you if you think that it's going to take any more than a quick 3-turn farm or something like that. Now, if you're going on to more challenging things and you're going to try to solo with her or anything like that, my first suggestion is Iron-Willed Training. This is just a raw defense increase. Simple as that. It helps make her be able to tank through damage and survive for those fights. And even better than that, if you're facing off against a male, the Holy Shroud of Magdalene, another raw defense increase, but it increases higher defense than Iron-Willed Training, but only against males. These are the 2 CEs I would highly suggest that you try and invest into or take along with you if you're trying to solo content with Fujino. These, like I said before, allow you to reduce damage taken to basically 0, if not 0. during her third skill buff. Now, to pair her up with servants, oh look, it's Waver! He's made the list again. Waver's defense buff comes more in handy than usual with Fujino, pushing her damage reduction to extreme limits, on top of his usual attack up, crit up, and NP charge that he provides, so of course he's going to be on this list. Next up, we've got Mash. Mash is a fantastic support servant for endurance battles, and helps further push Fujino's damage mitigation towards that 100% mark. If you combine Mash's first skill with Fujino's third skill, she's pretty much going to take 0 damage for the first hit, and then close to it for the next 3 turns, right? You can also bring along Hans Christian Andersen. Why'd I have Alexander on the mind? Crazy. He's also a fine support choice. He provides health recovery for her to help get through the fact that she has to take that HP demerit. He provides defense, although it is on a RNG basis. Attack. He provides crit up. He provides star generation. And Fujino has a good star gathering, so being able to secure more stars for her, secure more crits, secure more NP gain, all things Fujino likes to have. And finally, Jeanne d'Arc is another fantastic endurance support. She provides invincibility buff on her NP, healing, and perhaps even best of all, removes the debuff of Fujino's third skill so she can remain at max HP. So, too long didn't watch, she's not a very good servant to roll for. Fujino is a waifu role. She's not amazing, she's not going to break the meta or anything like that. She's not very good at farming, she's only decent for endurance fights. There are free welfares that are better than her, which really hurts. She's painfully average, other than her niche. But on the plus side, if you want a really good reason to roll for her, she has Noto Mamoko's soft, fluffy voice, and who doesn't love that? So, overall, Fujino, not the best choice to roll for, unfortunately. Let me know your opinions on Fujino, and if you enjoyed this video, follow on Twitch to see these recorded live, watch Fake Go gameplay, join the Discord, and all that other advertisement stuff. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you next time for another Gacha Guide.